Thank you, Mark.
There you go. So yes, on a date. We're on a date about AI. So what AI to me means ChatGPT helping me write emails quickly. It means there's Bloomberg articles, and AI helpfully summarizes the articles at the top. Obviously, Bloomberg, we're looking at ways that AI can impact the rest of our business as well. But obviously, you are head of AI in the country. So what does AI mean to you?
So what you mentioned is just the tip of the iceberg. What you mentioned is the reflection from an individual. But what we are in Malaysia, where we are aspiring for, and that's the role of the National AI Office, is to bring it into a national agenda, a national outlook. What does it mean for a teacher? What does it mean for an engineer, for a lawyer, and other professions that must gain the benefit that AI provides? So it's not just conversational ChatGPT in your phone. It's about that augmenting capabilities. So how would teachers teach better with AI? How would traffic congestion in a city be elevated due to AI? So we see this as an evolution that started off perhaps back in 1965 when AI was first introduced, but its evolution capability has now leapfrogged in so many times. And we are seeing that it's not going to stop at just what you mentioned. It's going to be in, I suppose, every device that is able to compute. We are already seeing AI in its form in watches, in vacuum cleaners, cars, and it's going to be much more than that. Physical AI or humanoids are coming with AI capabilities that probably going to be like a household item for every home in the future. And as we have more and more of this, we see that human capabilities will be increased, deeper insights into what's happening in our surrounding, more emphasis on data and also sovereignty when it comes to it. But more importantly, from a country's perspective, Malaysia is to have everybody moving forward on the same page so that we have the compounding multiplier of income and also safe use of AI.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity or biggest potential? You mentioned teachers a couple of times. Is that where the biggest potential is?
When the National AI Office was set up December last year, we were tasked to look at 6 main sectors. Education was one of them. And the rest includes public sector, transportation, agriculture, and also SMEs. I would say there's no one specific area where we want the biggest impact. We want a compounding impact. So some are not just for revenue, but also for safety, security, societal impact, economic impact. And in a month's time or so, the National AI Office, via the Cabinet, will be producing or releasing to the public the National AI Action Plan 2030. It's a 5-year, in a way, playbook that echoes the 13th Malaysia Plan aspiration that we should be an AI nation by 2030, using AI in our day-to-day lives.
So we're in fast forward to 2030. How will the average Malaysian's life hopefully be different because of AI?
I have to say the first part is to make sure that AI is being used responsibly. We don't want the same situation that we got from social media. You know, a lot of abuse and a lot of scam. We don't want that. So we're starting front center with education. Back to teachers and stuff like that. So responsible use, making sure that we have good governance, good ethics. So as part of the 13 Malaysia plan, there are 3 levers that we should see becoming in the next 2030. Number 1 is good governance. So AI is being used in a responsible way, bringing that awareness, education everywhere. We have portals and websites for educating people on the safe use of AI. Second part is raise the ceiling, meaning how do each of us will augment our capability due to AI. So we'll see, I suppose, better creation and better usage of AI in day-to-day life. So not to pigeonhole certain types of jobs, but I think every job will have a positive impact. And the third part is to raise the floor, meaning that nobody's left behind. You don't need to be in an urban place with a fantastic phone. You can be anywhere in the country, the most remote area, but AI is bringing impact to your daily lives.
So one thing, mentioned traffic as well. I mean, all of us have been around Southeast Asia. Maybe 2030 there'll be no traffic jams in Manila or no traffic jams in KL because of AI.
So the National AI Action Plan has, once it comes out, is a playbook on how data owners should participate in sharing data out for AI to consume. And that would be the answer to solving congestion. For example, it's not difficult to imagine AI being used to consume CCTV, traffic light, and other sensors in a city. And AI being AI, it can, especially Gen AI, it can try to compute the next best way to disperse people out, especially when there's real-time situation happens, rain, traffic jam, VIP convoys, and stuff like that. How do we get notification and inform us that don't drive into this hotel today, park your car somewhere else and take the public transportation. So those kind of stuff where it requires that capability and only data and AI can provide that uplift.
It's in the, you might not be able to tell, but I've been abroad for about 10 years now, but I'm English, British. So there was an article, I think, by The Guardian that one of our departments was exploring, government departments was exploring every employee at the ministry having access to OpenAI and ChatGPT and all this sort of stuff. And there was not a controversy, but the article was saying, well, surely is that safe? All these civil servants, they're going to be typing in, not secrets, but they're going to be saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, and therefore OpenAI is going to get access to what, the government's deepest, darkest secrets maybe. How do we balance that in Malaysia?
Yeah, so Malaysia had a similar starting point. In January, about 445,000 federal civil servants out of 1.6 million got access to Gen AI tools. And we quickly realized that they really require a bit of change management, a bit of responsible use of AI, data governance, and underlying all that is the need for government to have sovereign AI elements. So yes, that could be a destination, whereas today we are starting off with whatever's off the shelf. But as a destination, we see companies like Zetrix, YTL, and others focusing on building homegrown capabilities, which we definitely need as we progress on the usage by high-risk applications. And compounding into that is the underlying requirement for talent. It's not good enough to have technology that we can take off the shelf, but do we have the pipeline of people in the country building up the next level, the next layer of sophistication and features? So underlying all this, and ultimately, as part of the AI action plan, is to see the economic uplift that all of us desire AI to be.
So is that a case of hiring more Gen Z or us older people in the audience, including me, might not be as good, not AI native growing up the next generation? Does that mean that there's going to be more of them in the government, or how do we upskill experienced civil servants on how to use AI?
Yeah, about a year ago, the Human Resource Ministry came out with a report. And to answer to your point, that report basically says that in Malaysia, 660,000 jobs are today affected by AI, existing workforce. But we also see, and you and I know, when it comes to AI, there's also new types of jobs that wasn't there when AI wasn't in the picture. So we have a goal about 400,000 new jobs every year towards 2030. New jobs out of AI. So the goal is to
across the whole government,
across the whole country. So not just public sector. Right. Yeah. So the whole goal is to transition people that are in this 660,000. How you are affected to make sure that you are into a space where you are now your job, your career progression is powered by AI, and you can do more with AI. So that's today's workforce or the existing workforce. But we also got to make sure that the future workforce, those that are still studying now, schools and universities, but when they join the workforce, they are well equipped and ready. But not just from a product perspective, meaning they know how to use Copilot. It's not just that. It's about having that mindset of producing AI for Malaysia rather than be just a consumer of AI for Malaysia. Being a consumer is easy. You can just go to any SaaS software on the cloud and start using it as a consumer. But the multiplier effect comes when one becomes a producer. And so that time in higher education and school, if they are taught to figure out on how do we produce an AI economy out of this whole thing. That would be a lot more impactful rather than just being a consumer.
So a difficult question. I'll forgive you if you dodge it. Will AI, do you think, in Malaysia create more jobs than it could reduce the need for? Because I think all of us use AI, and we might think, oh, we don't need to hire a new starter because everyone's using ChatGPT and everyone's individual workloads have gone up, but it's more efficient because of AI. Therefore, we might not need to hire a new person or whatever. So yeah, is across the country, how do you think that balance is going to play out?
We anticipate net, if the AI action plan is being executed to the letter, then we see that there should be a net positive AI employment due to AI, because of the capabilities and the opportunities that AI creates, which can't be there because AI wasn't there in the first place. So that net positive is where we find that leaders are definitely needed, digital leaders. So there's so many organizations out there that are just doing AI for the sake of AI. You know, he's doing it, therefore I should do. It's not that. It's about, do you know what you're doing it for? That leadership quality when it comes to implementing technology at the right place at the right time, solving problems, not just following others, building up on your talent pool, and having a view on how AI drives economic and society impact. So I would say net positive employment.
You mentioned it. We had a chat earlier. The boss, the Prime Minister, he's keen for you to succeed, right? The push for AI is from the top, and how does that help?
So it was echoed in the last of his budget speech, which was like 3 Fridays ago, the 13 Malaysia Plan budget announcement, and in there, allocation of AI was pretty prosperous in terms of scattered across education and also government areas. So it's important that Malaysia is able to move forward cohesively because, number one, we don't have time. Every other nation, especially in ASEAN, are all investing and putting the right foot forward. Number two, technology itself is being driven by technology companies. AI itself is being driven by technology companies. So it's important for nation states to figure out how does AI really drive economy. And number three is to make sure that the whole nation, in terms of employment, workforce, present, future workforce, have a game plan. So it's not just reacting into what Sora or ChatGPT can do, but what is the economic benefit out of this whole thing? So somebody needs to be the architect behind this whole movement.
So if in ASEAN, where everything's done, all friends working together, but also competing.
Yep.
When it comes to AI, who would you say is the best nationally with regards to AI? And if it's not Malaysia, how can we make Malaysia number one?
Singapore started off early, and Malaysia wasn't that far behind. And using this AI action plan, we are pegging ourselves to be in top 10 in the next 5 years. But saying that, to answer to your point, every country we see are doing things differently. Vietnam has got a lot more focus on startups. In Singapore, it's a lot more government pursuit. And in Malaysia, we are doing it based on sectors. We have 28 sectors in Malaysia, and having a one number for the country doesn't mean much. It's all about how each sector actually sees benefit out of it. The example of transportation that I mentioned earlier. And there's other examples that we want to see happening in education, in healthcare, in agriculture. You know, we should be seeing more AI being used by farmers, for example, in their day-to-day agriculture efforts, and something that we launched recently about 2 months ago, where farmers use a WhatsApp interface to interface with a conversational AI, but to understand when to buy subsidies or when to buy fertilizers, what sort of weather forecast is happening in the conversational, in a WhatsApp manner. So that should change the way higher yield coming out from paddy and other agriculture. So every country is doing it differently. Today, Malaysia is at the position of 26 in the world, and we want to get to top 10 if we get our plans right.
How is it more money? We need more money from the Prime Minister. We need more money from. We need Sam Altman to come over here and start spending money, or is it just working out what the unique aspects are of the country and plugging into that?
Money is a given, and it would be nice for Sam Altman to be here. But I think it's more importantly, it's about every Malaysian knowing what to do next. It's about having that clear aspiration, whether you are an individual or a business owner, but you know AI is a force to be reckoned with. You can't avoid it, but you just know what to do next. So that I feel is the trigger point that we anticipate to yield the benefit in either societal or economic outcome.
And another thing that we had a chat with about offstage. So I do quite a lot of work in the Middle East, and there's quite a big push by, well, definitely Qatar and Saudi Arabia to make an Arabic AI. Yep. Obviously, if language is a very important part of culture, so if you lose the language, other things might start happening. So how can we create a Malay AI, for example? How can we ensure that Malaysia's unique culture is preserved?
The positive story is that it has already started. There were a few local companies that have started to work on the Malay language large language model. It's a good start because it gives that horizontal large language model interface for every sector to start to use. And it's essential for Bahasa Melayu to have this capability because of the reason that we have Bahasa Indonesia right next door, which is 200 million population using a language similar to Bahasa Melayu. So if Bahasa Melayu doesn't have this LLM capability, then we'll find that the chatbots powered by the Bahasa world will have a Indonesian response rather than a Malaysia response. So it doesn't stop there. Malaysia is a multicultural society. So we need to do the same for other ethnic languages of Malaysia, not just Bahasa Melayu. But more importantly is also that if we carry on this evolution, we should see, I think there was a news last week on a particular company from Malaysia that started to do a language model for the education sector. So it's no longer just playing on horizontal one language for all, but as we do that and more players doing that, we'll see more companies doing vertical sector-based language models with domain-specific context. So domain in healthcare, for example, agriculture and transportation. So language plays an important part, but we need domain context as a next evolution of the language models.
Yeah, and with regards to making sure that the use of AI is unique to, or helps Malaysia, and same applies to the UK as well, and a lot of other countries. That the two countries dominating, or one plus another one, is the China and the US. Both in terms of things like OpenAI, DeepSeek, the money is coming from those countries. How can Malaysia, one, get the money from both of these very wealthy countries, but also ensure, definitely with regards to China, that security policy is strong?
Yeah, so I'll start on the second part first. So as part of the Malaysian ASEAN chairmanship, we put out a proposal that's been executed now is for the creation of the ASEAN AI Safety Network. So it's a proposal for collaborative action to set up a safety institute within ASEAN. And we may see perhaps maybe one institute or maybe several institutes scattered across ASEAN countries, but the point here is that it looks into elements of safety, elements of security, elements of responsible AI, to make sure that when AI trickles down, and any new version that trickles down, we have a place to test it out first from a national context. And that comes together with development of more collaborative standards creation. Within Malaysia, we have a lot of standards, but we need to build more standards specific for AI. And these standards can then be harmonized and socialized with the other ASEAN countries, because maybe some nuances that hasn't been captured. And as we combine all these two, then we should see a lot more responsible use that gives more trust into the governance of AI within the country. And Malaysia itself, we are now working on an AI governance bill, perhaps third quarter next year, where it's some sort of a framework to ensure that AI is being deployed responsibly.
That's an ASEAN bill? Or
that's a Malaysia bill.
how will the other bills in the other ASEAN countries be similar, or?
Well, I'm not sure. Other countries would look at their regulations separately, but in Malaysia, as we see that AI, the impact of AI can be negative if one is not given a framework to be playing responsible in.
Right. So we've got only a few minutes left. Everyone here, put your hand up if you've used ChatGPT or anything like that at work. So keep your hand up if you've been honest about using it. You kept it secret. Yeah. Or but do you use do you ever use it?
So
in your role as CEO, like privately?
Yeah. I mean, the bit I have to mention to those that raise your hands, if you're using it for work context, make sure that you are paying for it. You're not using the free version, because if you start to use the free version, then you are being monetized. Your data becomes public data, so you have to be aware of that. And at the National AI Office, we use Gemini and many other Google Suite, and it helps us on day-to-day, like for example, taking up meeting minutes and calling for the next meeting, and summarization of the many policies and regulations that we need to be on top of, especially when it comes to sessions in Parliament, where there's a lot of questions on impact of AI for constituents and citizens, and so we need to be cohesive in our responses. So AI does save a lot of time for us.
What about could the AI office use AI to set policy about AI?
I wouldn't say never. Still early days, but it's important that AI in any implementation follows certain ethical guidelines. So in Malaysia, we have the Science Ministry's AIGE. You can download it, and basically it gives out 7 different principles for the usage of AI in Malaysia. And one of them is to make sure that we have human in the loop. And all of us are very much guilty sometimes of not having AI in the loop. You know, we ask ChatGPT something, we get a response, and we quickly post it out. And when somebody says that response is not right, you don't blame yourself, you blame the AI. So that's a classic example of not having AI in the loop. Whereas you should be, you know, validating that, yes, this is the response from ChatGPT, I need to validate this before I submit further.
And yeah, final question, feel free to share any other hot tips about using AI, or what's the one thing that AI did recently that you were like, wow, it's getting scary and impressive?
On a personal side, I love cats, and I'm disappointed to see many cat content that are being generated by AI, because it's no longer natural. You know how cats are very inquisitive, and these days they are not so inquisitive due to AI. So that's number one. It's not nice to see that anymore. But also number 2 is when it comes to AI, I have to explain to you that when we use the word AI, we generally mean generative AI, the one that came out 2.5 years ago. But you got to appreciate that this generative AI is a statistical engine, meaning you ask the same question again, you get a different answer. So be careful on how you use it. So we should be exploring how do we add on more deterministic capability. For example, there's another school of thought on symbolic AI, where you can combine symbolic AI plus Gen AI to give that more affirmative response and answer. So horses for courses, fair enough. You know, you don't mind the cat video to be somewhat different when you ask it the second time, but you don't want your doctor to give you a different diagnosis when you ask the second time. So you got to really appreciate that when we talk about AI, today is Gen AI. In a few months or years' time, may not be Gen AI anymore. It could be something else.
I mean, that's actually the last question. So anyone who's got kids or Gen Z, that they've grown up with social media, I think it's fair to, well, every younger generation, everyone says, oh, these kids today, they're crazy. But social media has impacted kids compared to the generation that didn't have social media. How do you think AI will, in the first generation that grows up having an AI in their pocket, how do you think that might impact them, their learning, all that sort of stuff?
I'm very sure you and I and many others, when AI first came in, you hope this thing will just go away. But it has not. It's here to stay. So back to my many references to teachers and students, you got to expose them early on responsible use. It's akin to us riding a bicycle when we were young. We don't really care what type of bicycle that we ride, but we got to learn how to do it safely. So if we give them those early lessons in using AI responsibly and safely, then it doesn't matter what AI they use, they just know intuitively. So to me, it's about that, exposing them early, because we can't avoid it. AI is going to be in many forms and shapes, not just Gen AI in your phone, like I mentioned. It could be any other type of AI. There's humanoids coming down the pipe where you see a robotic-looking thing, but it has Gen AI inside, and this will keep on coming. So it's a matter of knowing what's right and what's wrong, and you've got to teach them early on this.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Some hot tips there from CEO of the National AI Office of Malaysia, and Sam will stay. You can come and chat with him and ask him more difficult questions off stage.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Cheers.